The grand arena of Zareth 5 was filled with bright lights and noise. Thousands of alien voices echoing across the giant crystal walls. It was a place of judgment where the most powerful leaders of the galaxy gathered under one roof, the Galactic Accord. This time, they came not just to witness a trial, but to mark the end of a war. Commander Lena Zir, of the Zinnerai Empire, stood in the center of the chamber, bound by glowing chains that wrapped around her arms and legs. Her silver skin was scratched and bruised, but her eyes still burned with strength. She had once commanded a fleet that made stars tremble, destroyed planets, and conquered entire systems. But today, she stood defeated not by a larger army or superior alien tech, but by something the galaxy had underestimated: a human. Lena had been captured by Earth's forces, and her trial was expected to be short. The High Chancellor, a tall creature with 10 eyes and golden robes, began to read out her crimes: genocide, planetary invasions, and countless deaths. The crowd listened in silence. Many wanted her executed immediately. But when the Chancellor asked if she had any final words or requests, Lena lifted her head and calmly said something that shocked everyone. "I choose a prize. I want the human who defeated me. Bring me Eli Voss." The room fell into stunned silence. The council members looked at each other, confused. The cameras broadcasting the trial across the galaxy zoomed in on her face. She didn't flinch or explain herself further. Her voice had been clear and her gaze sharp. Why would she ask for a human? Why not demand freedom or rescue? The war was over. What use was a single man? Rumors spread quickly across the star systems. Some said it was revenge. Others thought it was a trick. In love with her enemy, though that idea sounded impossible. On a quiet military outpost orbiting Earth, Captain Eli Voss was in the middle of a training session when the call came. He wasn't expecting to return to the center of attention. Months had passed since the battle that brought down the Zinnerai flagship. He had led a risky mission deep into enemy space, and while others hesitated, he struck. He had boarded Lena's ship himself, disabled her command systems, and brought her in alive. Most officers would have ended her. He didn't. And now she was asking for him. His superiors tried to understand. "We want you to go, Eli. Talk to her. Find out what she wants." He didn't agree right away. He had seen enough war. Didn't want to become a tool of politics or be used in some twisted drama. But something about Lena's request stuck in his mind. During the capture, when their eyes met, she hadn't looked at him with hate. It was something else. Curiosity? Regret? He couldn't forget that, so after some thought, he agreed. Not for fame, not for duty, but to look her in the eye again, and ask why him. When he arrived on Zareth 5, the alien crowds quieted at the sight of him. The human who stopped a war, no medals, no fanfare, just a simple man in an old jacket with steady steps. As he entered the grand arena, his path led straight to the center where Lena stood waiting. She didn't look away when he approached, and as their eyes met once again, the entire galaxy seemed to lean in, wondering what would happen next. The war was over, but their story was only beginning. Eli stood in the glowing chamber, surrounded by alien eyes watching from above, all curious about what this strange human would do next. Lena Zir stood only a few feet away, her tall frame bound by strong energy cuffs, glowing blue and humming. Softly, her silver skin was marked with bruises from the battles and the rough treatment she had received after her capture. But her eyes, sharp and bright, still held the same strange calmness. She wasn't afraid. She wasn't ashamed. She looked at Eli with focus, like she had waited for this moment. The Galactic Council had granted her request to meet him, but no one truly understood why. Some thought she planned to kill him. Others believed it was a political trick or a hidden plan. Lena stood tall, and when Eli stepped closer, she gave him the faintest smile. "You came," she said. Her voice was smooth, her tone not proud but certain. "I don't even know why I'm here," Eli replied honestly. "'Cause I asked," she said, and for a second, it sounded like that answer was enough. But the council was watching, and they were impatient. The lead speaker, A thin creature with glass-like skin leaned forward. Lena Zir, you are granted one final request. You asked for this human. Explain your reason to this council. Lena nodded slowly and looked at the crowd around her. You know me as a warlord, she began. I fought and conquered. Because I believed in strength. Believed weakness had no place in this galaxy. I thought humans were just another soft race hiding behind planets. Then I met him. She pointed at Eli. This one did not have more ships. He did not have better weapons. But he fought like he had something deeper, something I never understood. He came into my ship alone. He could have ended me, had no defense left. But he didn't. He looked into my eyes and saw something even I had forgotten, and he let me live. The room stirred with whispers. Some aliens scoffed, calling it weakness. Others looked curious. So you want him for study? The Chancellor asked. No, Lena said. I want to understand what he saw. Why did he spare me? What does it mean to him to be human? The council did not know how to respond. This was not a demand for freedom, not a trick, not even a request for revenge. It was something deeper, something they could not understand. He agreed to allow Eli to speak with her again, not just for her, but to watch them both.
Oh.
Maybe they would learn something useful. That night, Eli was given a private room inside the council's embassy. Guards stood at every corner, though none expected the human to make trouble. The next day, he returned to the holding chamber, where Lena was kept in a high-security cell, surrounded by force fields. She sat on a bench, eyes closed, almost like she was meditating. When he entered, she opened her eyes slowly and nodded. Why did you really ask for me? Eli asked, as he stood outside the barrier. She studied him for a long moment. Because you did something I didn't expect. You showed me mercy when I had only ever seen war. I have questions, and you are the only one who might answer them. You were my enemy, Eli said. You killed billions. I know, she answered. And yet, you didn't kill me. That matters. Eli didn't speak for a while. He wasn't sure if she truly understood what he had done or why. But her voice wasn't mocking, and her words weren't sharp. She truly wanted to understand. From that moment, something began to shift. He returned the next day, and then the next. They spoke through the barrier. He told her about Earth, about how humans grew up with stories of survival and sacrifice. He explained how humans didn't fight because they loved war, but because they loved each other, their families, their homes. Lainey listened carefully. She asked questions he didn't expect. Why do you protect the weak? She asked once. Because we were weak once, he answered, and someone protected us. Her face was thoughtful. In the Zenari Empire, we leave the weak behind. Only the strong move forward. Maybe that's why you lost, Eli said. She didn't argue. She nodded. Outside their conversations, the council whispered. They began to wonder if she was changing, or if she was manipulating him. Some wanted to move her to a deep prison moon. Others thought she was valuable, even as a prisoner. But Eli had a strange feeling growing inside him. She wasn't lying. She wasn't pretending. Lena Zir was truly trying to understand what made humans different. What made him different. To maybe, just maybe, he was starting to understand her too. The galaxy had seen her as a monster, a war criminal. But Eli could now see something deeper. Someone lost. Someone tired of war. Still, no one understood what she really wanted. Maybe not even Lena herself. Days passed like slow waves rolling across a quiet sea, and each morning Eli returned to the high-security wing where Lena was kept. Their talks were strange at first, half questions, half silence, but over time, something shifted. Lena, no longer sat cold and still like a statue. Instead, she leaned forward, asked deeper questions, and sometimes even laughed, though quietly. She wanted to know how humans made art, why they built parks instead of more war machines, and what it felt. I'd like to hold someone's hand without a reason. Eli answered as best he could, often unsure if she truly understood, but still he spoke honestly. He told her about the time he nearly died in space but was saved by a young pilot who refused to leave him behind. He told her about his sister, who raised her children on Mars and still sent him silly drawings from her kids. Lena listened, eyes focused, like each word was a puzzle piece she needed to understand. She, in turn, shared small pieces of her past, how she was taken from her family at a young age and trained to be a commander, how she never learned the names of the planets she conquered, and how, even now in silence, she remembered the cries of those she defeated. Eli saw something change in her. She wasn't just curious, she was waking up. But outside their talks, the galaxy was stirring again. Reports reached the Council that parts of the Zinari Empire had not surrendered. Instead, rogue fleets were gathering in deep space, moving in secret. Council intelligence believed these groups were planning a rescue mission, not just to break Laina out, but to start the war again under her name. The Council was furious. Some members shouted that she had sent secret signals during her stay. Others blamed Eli, saying she had tricked him and was using their talks to plan a second strike. Eli was called before the Council and questioned hard. Did she give you any orders? Did she hint at an escape? Is she manipulating you? He denied it all. Lena had not spoken of escape, not once. She often talked about how tired she was of war. Doubt was a heavy shadow, and it crept into even the clearest minds. The Council voted to move Laina to a deeper prison, one buried beneath a mining moon in Sector 9. Eli protested, but they didn't care. As security began planning the transfer, the galaxy's fear grew, and then, without warning, it happened. The alarms rang across Zareth 5. A rogue Zinari fleet dropped out of warp right into neutral space. Dozens of warships, heavy cruisers, stealth frigates, and a massive dreadnought were heading straight for the planet. Panic took over the Council. Defenses were rushed into place, and civilians were locked in shelters. They blamed Laina. They called her a traitor and a liar. But when Eli stormed into her cell, ready to ask her the truth, he found her sitting calmly. Her hands resting on her knees, eyes closed. She opened them slowly when he entered. "Did you call them?" he asked. "No," she said. "Knew they might come. The Empire is not just a machine. It is a creature that cannot accept defeat. They want me back, not to save me, but to use me again." "Then tell them to stop," Eli said, voice sharp. "You can end this." Lena looked at him sadly. "They won't listen. To them, I am still their symbol, their sword." Outside, warships entered orbit. The skies turned red with warning lights. Fighters launched from both sides. Lena stood, looked through the narrow window in her cell, and whispered, "This is the ghost of a war we didn't finish." Eli made a choice. He turned away from the cameras, from the guards, and spoke low. "I'm not letting them take you. We're getting out of here. Together." Laina didn't argue. She didn't smile either. She simply nodded, because something in his voice had made her believe again, not in herself, but in him and outside. As explosions lit the sky and the rogue Zinari fleet began their assault, two former enemies, one human, one alien, prepared to escape a second war neither of them wanted. The galaxy had started to burn again, but neither Eli nor Laina planned to watch it happen from a cage. The sky above Zareth 5 burned red as the rogue Zinari fleet broke through the outer defenses. Explosions lit up the upper atmosphere, and alarms screamed across every part of the station. Ships fell from orbit like flaming stones, and the Council guards rushed through the halls, shouting orders and dragging officials toward underground shelters. In the middle of the chaos, Eli pushed his way through the smoke-filled corridors, ignoring the warnings and sirens. He knew the station wouldn't last long. The Zinari weren't there to negotiate. They'd come to tear the place apart and take back what they believed was theirs. Lena's ear. Eli reached the high-security wing and found it mostly abandoned. The guards had either run or joined the fighting. The air smelled like burning metal, and power flickered in the hall lights. He ran toward her cell, passing broken doors and cracked walls, his boots slipping on the shaking floor. When he reached it, her Laina was still there, standing in the center of the glowing cell, arms still cuffed, her face calm, looked at him through the force field with steady eyes. "You came back," she said. "I told you I would," Eli replied. Stepping forward and entering the override code, One of the panicked guards had dropped in the escape. The shield dropped with a spark, and he reached into his pocket, pulling out a portable key to unlock the cuffs. "Are you here to kill me now?" she asked. Not mocking, just quiet. "No," he said. "I'm here to get you out." As the cuffs fell away from her wrists, Lena rubbed her hands and followed him without a word. They moved fast, dodging falling beams and shattered doors. The power grid had collapsed on most floors, and the emergency lights cast everything in red. Lena grabbed a fallen guard's weapon as they passed, and Eli didn't stop her. They would need it. A squad of Roguesanary soldiers dropped into the corridor ahead of them, armored and armed, clearly sent to secure the prisoner. But they hadn't expected Elin, they hadn't expected her to be free. Lena moved first, fast and precise. Her fighting was graceful, silent, and deadly. She disabled one soldier with a single strike, took his weapon, and passed it to Eli. He shot the next two with cold focus. The last one fled. The pair ran again, taking turns down narrow maintenance tunnels and climbing up emergency shafts. Finally, they reached one of the hangar bay's half, destroyed and shaking with the impact of falling debris. Most ships were either gone or wrecked, but one small shuttle, half covered in fire foam, still showed a green light on its core drive. "That one," Eli said, and they sprinted toward it as the roof above them cracked and a burning panel crashed. Down nearby, as he climbed into the pilot's seat, Lena dropped into the co-pilot chair beside him, activated the engines just as part of the hangar wall blew inward. Zanari troops poured in, firing. The shuttle lifted, spinning as sparks flew across the control board. Lena took the guns, firing back with sharp bursts, covering their escape. The shuttle burst through the force field at the edge of the hangar and into the open sky. Space was chaos. Frigates and cruisers fired at each other in tight orbits. Fighters flew in spirals, chasing targets through burning wreckage. Eli dodged left and spun under a disabled carrier, hiding behind its broken hull as plasma fire sliced past them.
Ollie.
"We won't last long out here," Lena said, eyes sharp. "We won't need to," Eli replied, punching in a hidden jump path. "I marked a dead moon to sectors out. No one will follow us there." The jump engine wind, and the stars stretched as they vanished from the system. The moment they arrived in the empty orbit of a dry, dusty moon, Eli let out a slow breath. Lena looked out at the gray rock below and leaned back in her seat. "You didn't have to come for me," she said. "I know," he replied, checking the ship's systems. "But I couldn't leave you there. Not like that." For a long moment, they said nothing. Only the hum of the ship filled the air. Finally, she whispered, "You still confuse me, human?" Eli gave her a tired smile. "You confuse me too." And for the first time since they met, there was no war between them, only quiet understanding as the fires of battle burned far behind them. The small shuttle floated in the dark sky above a lifeless desert moon, its engines cooling as the heat from their escape faded away. Below, the moon was silent, covered in gray rock and jagged hills, untouched by war or life. Eli landed the ship near a deep canyon, hidden from scanners and distant from known patrol routes. They stepped out into the dry air, the gravity light but steady. It was no shelter, no noise, just wind brushing over stone. For the first time in weeks, there was no one chasing them, no alarms, no war, just space between them and the rest of the galaxy. Eli set up a beacon inside the ship, something small, coded, only Earth ships would recognize. He hoped it would reach someone eventually. In the meantime, they had to wait. Time moved slowly on the moon. The days were quiet. Night, the stars looked close enough to touch. Lena spent hours standing outside, watching the sky without saying anything. Eli watched her, wondering what she was thinking. One evening, while the sky was dark and the cold winds moved softly over the rocks, she finally spoke. "Do you think they'll find us?" Eli looked up from the small fire he had built. "If the signal got through, yes, someone will come." "And if they don't?" she asked. "Then we build something," he said with a small smile. "Start a cafe, you cook, I fix things." Lena gave a short laugh, quiet but real. "I don't cook," she said, "then I guess we starve." The silence between them now felt comfortable, no longer heavy. That night, She told him about her childhood, how she was taken from her family at age 7, how she was trained by the Zenari military to fight, not feel. Her teachers had removed emotions, replaced them with purpose. "Don't remember my mother's voice," she said. "Only the sound of command drills." Eli nodded, listening. He didn't interrupt. He understood that she didn't need pity. She just needed someone to hear her. The next day, they climbed the nearby ridge to fix the ship's scanner. Up. There, the wind was stronger. From the top, they could see the curve of the moon's horizon, the stars bright and endless above them. As they worked side by side, Laena asked about Earth, about cities, music, children, and what it meant to grow old in peace. Eli told her about his sister's farm on Mars, about holidays, laughter, and how humans sometimes fought each other, but always came back together again. "That's what makes you dangerous," Laena said. "You don't give up on each other." "It's not danger," Eli replied. "It's hope." Later, back at the shuttle, as the fire crackled in the stars, shifted Laena sat beside him without her usual armor of silence. "When I first saw you, I thought you were weak," she said. "You didn't shout. You didn't threaten. You offered your hand instead of a knife." "And now?" he asked. She looked at him, her silver eyes soft in the firelight. "Now, I think I've never been more wrong about anything in my life." Her voice was barely above a whisper. She leaned closer, like something deep inside her was finally unlocking. She touched his hand carefully, as if afraid it would burn. But he didn't pull away. He held it. He stayed like that for a long time. That night, inside the ship, she kissed him slowly, uncertain at first, as if checking if it was allowed. He didn't stop her. And in that moment, they weren't a soldier and a warlord. They were just two people who had survived too much and finally found something worth holding on to. In the days that followed, they didn't speak of war. They spoke of plans, not big ones, small ones, where to go if Earth accepted her, what quiet place they could disappear to, how maybe peace wasn't just a dream. Then, on the 5th day, the ship's scanner blinked. A signal. Ships were coming. But so was a choice neither of them was ready for. Laena looked at the screen, then at Eli. Her hand found his again. "I don't want to run anymore," she said. "Then don't," Eli answered. Whatever came next, they would face it together. And for the first time, Laena Zertha feared Zenari. Commander felt something strange and strong grow in her heart. Not command, not duty, but love. ChatGPT said, "The stillness of the desert moon broke when the first fleet arrived. Dark shapes moving through space like shadows across water." Laena and Eli stood at the top of the ridge, watching the sky above them light up with the flashing trails of ships dropping out of warp. The scanners confirmed it's Zenari vessels, dozens of them circling slowly, as if sniffing for prey. Moments later, a second signal appeared, Dearth's ships. Reinforcements had answered the beacon. A fleet of human warships, sleek and silver, warped in behind the moon, weapons charged but holding fire. The standoff had begun. From the shuttle's control room, Eli and Laena opened the comms, watching both fleets spread across the stars. A cold voice came from the Zenari flagship, sharp and commanding. "Return our warborn. The traitor dies." "The human dies with her." Laena didn't flinch. Her face was calm, but her eyes burned with something deeper. Truth, maybe, or something. Close to peace. She pressed the button to speak, her voice steady and clear. "I am not your warborn. I am not your weapon. I will not return." The Zenari fleet held position, not expecting defiance. Behind them, Earth's forces waited for a reason to fire. Eli looked at Laena. "We can run," he said softly. "Not anymore," she replied. "This has to end now." She turned to the console and entered a long string of codes, deep-level Zenari military encryption. Eli didn't recognize the symbols, but he saw the way her fingers moved. She wasn't. Guessing she knew what she was doing? "What is that?" he asked. "These are old command codes," Laena said. "Codes only I know. They give Earth's fleet access to the enemy's network shields, communications, and targeting systems." Eli stared at her. "You've had those this whole time?" I held them in case I was ever forced to return, but now I choose who gets them." She finished typing and sent the signal. A second later, Earth's flagship responded. Zinnery shields were falling. The enemy systems began to flicker and fail. Their warships drifted slightly, caught between confusion and rising panic. Then Earth struck. The sky lit up as human. Warships launched a full assault. Missiles, lasers, and EMP blasts tore through the Zinari fleet. Their shields collapsed under the weight of the attack. Ships buckled, twisted, exploded. Fighter wings zipped through the chaos, targeting engines and power cores. It wasn't just a battle, it was a turning point. Eli watched as the Zinari dreadnought tried to retreat, but its thrusters failed. Final torpedo struck its belly, and the giant ship cracked in half, fire pouring from its broken spine. The moon shook gently as debris rained into orbit. Inside the shuttle, Lena stood still, eyes locked on the screen. Her past, her empire, everything she had once commanded, was dying in front of her. And yet she didn't cry. She didn't cheer. She only breathed out slowly, like releasing a weight that had been there her whole life. Eli stepped beside her. "It's over." She nodded once, "I think. This time it really is." Earth's flagship sent a message. The enemy fleet was broken. Survivors were being taken in, and a shuttle was on its way to pick them up. Lena looked at Eli. "They'll want to judge me again. Maybe," he said. "They'll know what you did." She stepped forward, close enough to touch. "You gave me a choice. No one ever gave me that before, not even my own people." "You chose right," Eli said, and he meant it. Outside, the fires of war faded. The stars began to settle. The rescue shuttle arrived an hour later. As they boarded, Lena took one last look at the moon. At the quiet ridge where she had kissed him, where she had remembered who she was, not a weapon, not a commander, but a person. She reached for his hand again, and he didn't let go. Together, they stepped into the future, leaving behind a galaxy forever changed by one warlord's choice on one human's heart. ChatGPT said the battle had ended, but the sky above was still filled with drifting wreckage and sparks from dying ships. The Earth fleet circled in tight formations, scanning for survivors and gathering the last pieces of what was once the proud and terrible Zinari Armada. The war had turned in a single hour, and the message was clear. Humanity was not to be underestimated, especially when fighting beside someone who once stood among their greatest enemies. Eli sat inside the rescue shuttle, looking through the window as stars moved slowly past. Lena sat beside him, quiet, her silver eyes watching the same view. She hadn't spoken much since the fighting stopped. Part of her still seemed lost. In what she had done, her face didn't show regret, but there was a strange stillness about her, like someone who had let go of something heavy, and now wasn't sure what to carry next. When they landed on the main command ship, guards waited, but they didn't aim weapons at her. Orders had changed. They knew what she had done, how she'd given up everything to end a war she once helped lead. As they stepped out, a group of officers waited to meet them. General Holt, Earth's senior fleet commander, stepped forward. A strong man with gray in his beard and respect in his eyes. He didn't shake Lena's hand, but he nodded to her, slow and firm. "You ended this?" he said. "We won't." "Forget that." Lena said nothing. Eli looked at the general. "She did what no one else could," he said. "She gave us the key." Holt gave a small nod, then motioned for the guards to escort them gently, not as prisoners, but as people. Under watch. Lena was placed in a secure guest suite, not a prison cell. Eli was allowed to visit freely. News of the battle spread fast. Across colonies, stations, and even alien worlds, broadcasts showed images of burning Zinari ships and praised the final blow that turned the tide. But what made the galaxy speak even louder was the truth behind it, how a former enemy had chosen to help the very people she once tried to destroy. Some praised Lena, some hated her, most didn't understand her. Reporters begged for interviews. The council wanted to question her again. But for now, Earth kept her close under protection, until a final decision could be made. In the days that followed, Eli stayed near her. They spoke often, sometimes just sitting in silence, other times talking late into the night. Lena was changing more than before. Her voice had softened, her eyes less guarded. One evening, she asked Eli a question that surprised him. "What happens now?" He paused before answering. "That depends. Some will want justice. Some will want to thank you. I think most just want to move on. And you?" she asked. "What do you want?" Eli looked at her, really looked. At her the once feared commander, who now sat barefoot in a quiet room, no armor, no walls, only truth left. "I want to see where this goes," he said. "U.S.?" she asked. He nodded. "If you want that too." Lena didn't speak right away, but then she reached across the table, gently touched his hand, and whispered, "I think I've never wanted anything more." But outside their room, forces were still moving. Zanari remnants had heard about Lena's actions. Some were angry, some were calling her a traitor. There were whispers of revenge, secret groups forming in the shadows of dead systems. Earth warned Eli and Lyanna that they would need to be careful. She wasn't just a symbol of war anymore. She had become a symbol of change, and that made her dangerous. Eli suggested leaving military space for a while. Somewhere quiet, where the stars weren't always watching, Lena agreed. "I've had enough of being watched," she said. Earth's command offered them a shuttle, disguised and private, and clearance to travel to the outer colonies. It wasn't a full pardon? Not yet, but it was a sign of trust. As they prepared to leave, Lena stood before the wide window in the docking bay, staring at the stars. Eli walked up beside her. "You ready?" She nodded. "For the first time in my life, I think I am." They boarded the shuttle together. No guards, no chains. Just two souls walking the same road, and as the ship slipped into the dark beyond, leaving behind the war, the council, and all the noise. The galaxy slowly turned toward peace, guided not just by victory, but by two people who had found something far greater than power. They had found each other. The stars drifted by outside the shuttle window as Eli and Lyanna moved farther from the center of the galaxy, away from the noise of war, courts, and memories that still echoed in every major system. They traveled in silence for hours, heading toward a quiet sector near the edge of human space, a place where few ships passed, and even fewer people asked questions. The colony there was small, just a scattering of domes under a gentle blue sky, with wide fields and calm rivers, far from the scars of battles and old loyalties. They were greeted not as heroes or fugitives, but simply as newcomers, and that was exactly what they needed. Eli took a job repairing towers and shuttle relays. He liked working with his hands, liked the silence of the hills and the hum of old machines. Lena spent her time learning to garden, to walk through the fields barefoot, to breathe in the scent of wildflowers and fresh water. The first time she laughed while holding a broken watering tool, Eli nearly dropped his wrench. It was the first time he saw her not as a warrior or a symbol, but as a woman learning to live. The people in the colony were kind. He asked few questions and gave them space. Some recognized Eli from the broadcasts. Few whispered about Lyanna, wondering if she was really the same woman who once led fleets that scorched planets. No one came to chase them away, and slowly the fear faded. One evening, as the orange sun dipped behind the hills, Lyanna stood beside a river, her silver skin glowing in the fading light. Eli walked up beside her, carrying 2 mugs of hot tea. She took one, her fingers brushing his. "I never imagined this," she said softly. "I never even thought peace was something I could have." Eli smiled. "Peace isn't something you get. It's something you choose, like you chose me." She looked at him, her eyes softer than he had ever seen them. "I didn't choose you because I wanted a prize. I chose you because when I looked into your eyes, I saw something I'd never seen before. Mercy without weakness, strength without cruelty. I wanted to understand it. Now I just want to keep it." He set his mug down and gently took her hand. "Then keep it," he said. "We've both fought enough." That night, as the stars rose over the valley, they lay side by side in a small house made of stone and wood, their hands still linked. Lyanna fell asleep to the sound of crickets, not alarms. Eli breathed deeply, his arm wrapped around her shoulder. The galaxy moved on. The war faded into history. Messages came now and then from Earth, official pardon, cautious praise, and invitation to return, but Eli declined each time. "We're good here," he always said, and they were. Sometimes, children from the colony would run past their house, laughing, playing. Lene would watch them through the window, smile, and whisper to herself that this was what all the fighting had tried to protect, but never understood. One day, a curious boy asked her, "Are you the alien lady from the stories?" She knelt down, looked him in the eye, and replied, "Yes, but I'm not a story anymore. I'm just someone trying to live better." Time passed. The garden grew. The stars never stopped shining, and the pain of old wars slowly became distant memories. But every now and then, someone would ask Eli, "Why did she choose you?" And he would always answer the same way with a soft smile, because in the end, she didn't want a prize. She wanted a path. And together, that's exactly what they walked. Two souls once shaped by fire, now healing under open skies. Far from the galaxy that once trembled at their names,